I spent my whole life working long, exhausting hours as a housekeeper. I pushed through every hardship, every aching bone, just so my son James could have a better life. I wanted him to go to school, have nice clothes, and live the kind of life I never had, and I did it all with a smile. Even when I was tired, even when my health started to break down, I kept telling myself, one day, all this sacrifice will be worth it. That day came sooner than I expected, but not in the way I imagined. James was just 18 when he got really sick. His kidney was failing. The doctors told us he needed a transplant fast, or he wouldn't survive. I didn't even think twice. I gave him mine. I believed deep in my heart that my love would only bring us closer, and for a while, it did. He got better. I felt like I hadn't just given him a kidney, I'd given him a second chance at life, my heart and soul. But time changed things. Slowly, almost without noticing, James drifted away from me. He got married, built his own life, and became someone I hardly recognized. His wife Nicole had always been quiet, but over time, her silence turned into sharp decisions. Suddenly, I was left out of everything. No one asked my opinion. No one listened when I spoke. It was like I had become invisible in my own family. And James, he wasn't the same boy I'd held during his fevered nights. He stopped calling unless he needed something. He stopped saying thank you. He stopped seeing me not just as a mother, but as a person. I never wanted much. Just a little love, a little kindness, maybe a phone call now and then. But when I lost my job because they said I was too old, I didn't expect him to fix things. I just wanted him to care. Instead, he acted like I was a problem. "Mom, you can't just sit around now," he said. "What are you going to do? Freeload?" Those words stung. They weren't just rude, they were cruel. I had given him everything, and now he was treating me like a burden. It felt like being slapped across the face by the very person I gave life to. I held back my tears as I turned away. I didn't want him to see how deeply it hurt, but deep down, something inside me broke. I had spent my whole life giving every hour, every piece of myself, and now, I realized, it was time to stop letting people take from me, even him. I wasn't going to stay where I wasn't wanted anymore. Later, sitting alone in my small motel room, I picked up the phone. My heart was heavy. I was scared, not just about money, but about telling James the truth. He had always leaned on me, but now it felt like I was just extra weight he didn't want to carry. When he answered, I said quietly, "James, I need to tell you something. I lost my job today." There was a long silence. Then, his voice, cold, distant. "Why would you do that, Mom? That job paid $8,000 a month. What's your plan now?" His words hit me hard. There was no, "Are you okay?" No, "Do you need help?" Just blame. Just disappointment. "You need to stop being so reckless," he said. "I can't believe this." "What? Now you're just going to sit around while Nicole and I handle everything?" My face burned. I took a deep breath, trying not to snap. "James, I didn't want to lose my job. I've been working for decades. I'll figure something out." "Oh really? How?" he shot back. "Nicole and I are already dealing with enough. And now this. You're just adding more stress." I felt a deep anger rising inside me, but I kept calm. "James, I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted to let you know what happened. All you should have thought about that before quitting." He snapped. "You can't just dump everything on us. Go back to work. You're still healthy. Why should this be my problem?" I sat there holding the phone, stunned. He didn't see me as his mother anymore, just someone in the way. His words hit me hard. I didn't say anything right away. I just sat there, quiet, letting the pain settle deep in my chest. I had to fight back the tears. I didn't want to cry. Not for him. Not anymore. I wasn't going to let James see how badly he was hurting me. I wasn't going to be his punching bag. So I took a deep breath and said, calm and steady, "Well, maybe it's a good thing I don't have to depend on you anymore." My voice was soft, but I meant every word. "I don't need to worry about you now." Then silence. Long and heavy. I thought maybe he'd say something kind, an apology, a change of heart. But no, all I heard was him mutter, "I just don't understand why you didn't think about us first." Us. I almost laughed. "I've always put you first, James. Every single time. But I didn't say it. I couldn't. My heart was too tired. So I just ended the call." That night, I lay on the stiff mattress in my motel room, staring at the ceiling, feeling more alone than I ever had in my life. I had given everything I had, my love, my time, my body, even a piece of my own body to that boy, and now I was just a burden to him, a problem. But somewhere in that heartbreak, something changed inside me. I realized this wasn't just about losing my job. This was about finally seeing the truth. I wasn't part of their life anymore. Not really, not the way I used to be. I was just someone they called when they needed help. Someone they pushed aside when they didn't. And I was done being that person. I had something no one knew about, an inheritance from Catherine, a dear friend who had once told me, "One day, you'll need this more than anyone." That hidden money had become my lifeline, a chance to start fresh, a way out. The next morning, I made a decision. I wasn't going to be their doormat anymore. I wasn't going to be anyone's backup plan or emotional crutch. I was done sacrificing for people who couldn't even say thank you. I packed up my things from the tiny motel room. It felt like a prison, those four walls pressing in on me. I had spent the last few days wondering what to do, where to go. Even with the money, it all felt surreal. But one thing was clear: I wasn't going back to them. I called a cab and asked the driver to take me to my old apartment. The one I'd sold years ago but never fully let go of in my heart. I needed to grab a few things I'd left behind. I needed closure. When I walked through the door, it creaked the same way it always had. The smell of old wood and dust filled the air. Everything felt so familiar, yet so far away. I looked around and memories rushed in. Long nights comforting a sick James, simple dinners, laughter echoing through the rooms. Now it was just me. I walked through the space, touching the frames that still held pictures of him as a baby, old family photos I'd carefully saved. A tear threatened to fall, but I wiped it away. I wasn't going to break again. Then my phone buzzed. The sound jolted me. A message from James lit up the screen. "Mom, I'm sorry. I know things got heated. Please come back. Nicole and we want to make things right." I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to forgive him. Part of me wanted to believe he meant it. But deep down, I knew I couldn't. Not this time. I had to choose myself. My hands trembled as I typed back, "I'm done, James. I can't come back. I need to live for me now. I can't keep giving when I get nothing in return." I hit send and stared at the screen. I didn't expect him to understand. I didn't need him to. I had already said goodbye in my heart. And just like that, something shifted inside me. I wasn't the same woman who had walked into that apartment. I was stronger now, more sure of who I was and what I deserved. I packed the last of my things, just a few clothes and a small photo album I had tucked away long ago. Then I stepped out, locked the door behind me, and looked back one last time. That place had been my home. Now, it was just a memory. The cab ride back to the motel was a blur. My heart was heavy, yes, but there was also something else. A strange, quiet calm. For the first time in a very long time, I was living my life, for me. The world felt different now. I was no longer tied to my past. I didn't have to keep pretending to be someone I wasn't, just to please others. As I sat in the cab, staring out the window, I let myself imagine something I hadn't dared to dream in a long time: what my life could look like. Catherine's inheritance, the secret I'd kept hidden, was my way out. My freedom. No one knew about it, and I wanted to keep it that way. For the first time in years, I had the resources to build a new life, one on my own terms. I could finally chase the dreams I had quietly buried while taking care of everyone else. I was done being taken for granted, done feeling invisible. This time, my life would be mine. The next few days were quiet. I settled into a simple routine at the motel. The room was small, but it gave me peace. No one knocked. No one shouted. No one told me I was in the way. It was the calm I didn't know I needed. But even with the silence, my thoughts kept returning to the inheritance. When I had first discovered it, I was overwhelmed, grateful, but also guilty. It wasn't just money, it was a lifeline, a chance to start over. And more than anything, it was a sign that I didn't have to depend on James or anyone else ever again. Up until now, I'd only seen the basic details. One evening, tired of wondering, I finally opened the full packet from Catherine's lawyer. Slowly, carefully, I read through the documents. It wasn't just a check, it was an entire a trust fund, and a private account set up just for me. My breath caught in my chest. And then, tucked in the back, I found a letter, It was from Catherine. I've watched you all these years, Laura. I've seen the sacrifices, the heartache. You've given everything to others. But now, it's your turn. This money is only the beginning. Use it wisely. And remember, your worth isn't in what you do for others. It's in who you are. Live for yourself now, and don't look back. I stared at those words, letting them sink in. It was like she knew exactly what I needed to hear. More than anything, Catherine had given me permission to stop surviving and start living. To believe that I mattered, that I was allowed to want something for myself. As I kept reading, I realized just how much she had prepared for me. This was about more than security. It was about giving me the tools to stand on my own, fully and completely. And it was mine. The estate was legally transferred to me. No one, James Nicole, or anyone else had any claim to it. For the first time in years, I felt something powerful rising in me. A mix of relief, disbelief, and something stronger. Freedom. But freedom comes with choices. What was I going to do with this gift? I didn't want to waste it. I didn't want to just sit on it and stay hidden. I wanted to build something real, something that would finally reflect me. So I made a decision. The first thing I would do was buy a small house by the ocean. Somewhere quiet, peaceful. I had always dreamed of living near the water, the sound of the waves, the smell of salt in the air. It felt like healing, like home. The second decision was even more important. I wouldn't tell anyone about the inheritance. Not James, not Nicole. They didn't deserve to know. This was mine, a reward for the years I spent putting everyone else first. The next morning, I called a real estate agent. We spoke, made arrangements, and within a few weeks I had a house, a little cottage by the sea. It wasn't fancy, just a cozy space with a creaky wooden porch and windows that looked out over the crashing waves. But it was perfect. It was enough, and it was mine. For the first time in years, I didn't owe anyone an explanation. I didn't need approval. I didn't need to ask permission to breathe. I realized something then. I wasn't just walking away from my past, I was walking towards my future, a life that belonged to me. The days started to blend together after I moved in. I spent mornings sipping tea on the porch, watching the ocean shimmer in the early light. The air was salty, soft. The sound of the waves calmed something deep inside me. It didn't erase the pain, but it helped. Slowly, the years of hurt and sacrifice began to wash away. I had finally found peace. I used to start my mornings with a quiet walk along the beach. The cool waves gently touched my feet, and the soft sand shifted beneath every step I took. It felt like I was slowly walking away from the old me, the woman who always gave everything and never asked for anything back. The calmness of the ocean helped me heal, but there was something else bubbling inside me too, a small spark of excitement. For the first time, I started thinking about myself. What did I want? What did I need? My whole life, I had lived for others. First for my son, then for James and Nicole. Somewhere along the way, I forgot about me. But now, things were different. There was no one left to answer to, only myself. So I started small. I cleaned the house, cleared out old stuff I didn't need anymore. The mess was gone. So were the constant reminders of my past life. As I worked, I felt lighter, like a heavy backpack I didn't know I was carrying had finally been lifted. One afternoon, I walked into the nearby town. It was a quiet little place, just a few shops and a cozy cafe by the water. The kind of town where everyone smiles at each other but no one gets too nosy. I liked that. I went into the cafe, ordered a cup of coffee, and sat by the window. Outside, people moved slowly, with ease. They weren't in a rush. They weren't trying to outdo anyone. They just were, and it made me feel like maybe I could be that way too. While I sipped my coffee, something on the wall caught my eye. A flyer for a community garden project. They were looking for volunteers. I smiled. It was a small thing, but it felt like a step toward belonging, a way to help without losing myself in the process. I signed up, and for the first time in years, I felt like I had a reason to get up in the morning. I've always loved gardening. It reminded me of the days when James was little and we used to plant flowers together in the yard back when life felt simpler. Over the next few days, I spent time at the garden. The people there were kind. No one asked about my past, and I didn't feel the need to explain. They saw me for who I was now, just another neighbor trying to grow something new. In the evenings, I'd sit on the porch of my small house, watching the sky change colors as the sun dipped below the ocean. Every sunset was different, but each one was beautiful. It reminded me that there's always something good to hold on to, even after everything falls apart. Sometimes I thought about James, about how he kicked me out, about how quickly he and Nicole shut the door on me like I never mattered. I'd wonder if he ever missed me, even a little. But I'd shake the thought away. I couldn't keep living in the shadows of people who never really saw me. I had to let go. Then there was the money, the inheritance Catherine left me. It was still untouched, tucked away safely. I didn't think about it much, but I knew it was more than just money. It was my way out, my freedom. With it, I could finally start doing the things I'd always dreamed about. At first, I made small plans, maybe a trip or two, just to explore, to get to know me. But the more I dreamed, the bigger those dreams got. Maybe I'd start a business. Maybe I'd travel the world. For the first time in my life, everything felt possible. That thought alone felt like taking a deep, clean breath after being underwater. For years, it had been a few weeks since I moved into the house by the ocean, and my days had settled into a peaceful rhythm. Mornings in the garden, afternoons walking by the water. It was the kind of life I had always wanted. Calm, quiet, mine. I could finally breathe. But peace doesn't always last. One evening, as I sat on the porch watching the sun go down, my phone rang. The number on the screen didn't look familiar, but something about it made my chest tighten. I knew who it was before I even picked up James. I froze for a moment, that old mix of sadness and anger rising up again. After everything, after all the years I gave to him, now he was calling. And I knew, deep down, it wasn't just to see how I was. It never was. He only called when he needed something. I let out a quiet sigh and picked up the phone, trying to keep my voice calm. "Hello, Mom," James said softly, too softly, like he was trying to sound gentle. "I've been thinking a lot about what happened. I'm sorry. Things got out of hand. Nicole and we both made mistakes. Can we talk?" My stomach tightened. His voice sounded almost sorry, but there was something else under it, to panic. The kind of panic people feel when they realize they're no longer in control. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ocean as I listened. A small part of me wanted to give in, to hear him out. But the louder part, the one that remembered all the years of pain, all the times I gave and gave only to be tossed aside, that part kept me grounded. "What is it, James?" I asked, my voice steady. "What do you want?" There was a long silence. I could hear him breathing on the other end, like he was trying to find the right words. "Mom, we need help. Nicole and I are really struggling. Bills are piling up and I don't know what to do. I was hoping maybe you could help us out, just a little. I know I messed up, but we're really in trouble." There it was, the same pattern playing out again, just like always. He wasn't calling because he was truly sorry. He wasn't trying to mend the relationship. He wanted money. "No," I said firmly, my voice slicing through the air like a knife. "I can't help you, James." "What?" His voice jumped. "Mom, come on. We're family. You've always been there for me. Don't you care about us?" "I do care," I said, my voice stronger now. "But I can't keep doing this. I've given you everything. Now it's time for me to take care of myself. I'm not your bank. I'm not your safety net anymore." There was another pause. I could feel the weight of his silence. For a second, I thought maybe, just maybe, he'd finally say the words I'd longed to hear, a real apology. But then his voice changed. "You don't understand, Mom," he snapped. "You always make it about you. You're throwing everything away. Nicole and I are trying to build a life, and you're just being selfish." I closed my eyes, fighting back the sting in my chest. His words were cold, like sharp little needles, and they hit deeper than I expected. But I wasn't going to let him twist things around. Not this time. "No, James," I said quietly, but firmly, "you don't get to call me selfish. I've spent years putting everyone else before me. Now, I'm choosing me, and you can't use me anymore." Another long silence. Then, his voice cracked, just a little. "Please, Mom, I didn't mean it like that. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do. I need you." A wave of sadness washed over me. I wanted to comfort him. I wanted to believe him, but I had to protect myself now. "I'm sorry too," I said, my voice steady. "But I'm done. I've given you all I could. Now it's time I live for myself. You'll have to figure it out without me. I hung up. My heart was pounding. The air around me felt different, heavier, but in a way that meant something was finally over. It had been a week since that call, since I cut the final thread tying me to James. The silence afterward was strange, loud, almost, but also freeing. For once, I wasn't stuck worrying about how to fix someone else's life. I didn't have to tiptoe around his moods or clean up the messes he and Nicole left behind. Instead, I filled my days unpacking and slowly turning my house into a home. There was still work to do, but for once I wasn't rushing. I moved at my own pace. The sound of the ocean outside became my favorite background music, a soft, steady reminder of how far I had come. Just as I was starting to breathe easier, another call came in. It was late in the afternoon. I had just planted some lavender by the porch, the dirt still on my gloves, when my phone buzzed. It was a local number, one I didn't recognize. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something told me to pick up. "Hello," I said. "Is this Laura Hayes?" A smooth voice asked. "Too smooth." "Yes." "Who's calling?" "My name is Janet. I'm calling from the law firm representing the estate of Catherine Hayes." I stood still, heart skipping. Just like that, peace slipped through my fingers. Again. "There's no one else. You're the only heir," Janet said softly. The name hit me like a shock. Catherine. But she was gone. Why would someone be calling me now about her? "We've been trying to reach you," Janet continued. "It's about your inheritance. There are a few more things we need to go over. Could you come in tomorrow? There are some papers that need your signature." My chest tightened. What could this possibly be about? I thought everything was already taken care of when Catherine passed. But something about the way Janet spoke made me nervous. It felt urgent, and I hadn't expected this at all. "Why didn't you contact me earlier?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm sorry for the confusion," she said. "There was a mix-up in the paperwork. Nothing serious, just the formality. We'll explain it all when you come in." I agreed to meet her the next day, but I couldn't shake the anxious feeling in my stomach. I had been so focused on starting a new life, I'd nearly forgotten about the inheritance, but now it was right back in front of me. The next morning, I drove to the law office with 1,000 questions in my head. The building was sleek and modern, and I felt completely out of place. I had spent so many years cleaning other people's homes. Never in a million years did I think I'd be sitting across from a lawyer in a fancy office like this. It felt unreal. But deep down, I knew I deserved to be there. I had earned this. Janet greeted me with a tight smile. Something was off. She looked professional, but there was tension in her body, like she was holding something back. "Thank you for coming, Mrs. Hayes. Please, have a seat," she said, pointing to the chair across from her. I sat down, my palms sweating. "So, what's going on?" I asked, trying to sound calm. Janet flipped through a stack of papers. "It turns out there are some extra funds tied to the estate," she said. "Some assets that weren't included before." I frowned. I thought everything was already settled. She hesitated, glancing nervously at the door. Then she leaned in slightly. "There's also a piece of land. Catherine didn't just leave you money, she left you property. And it's worth a lot. But there's a problem." Her voice dropped to a whisper, like she was sharing a secret. "Other people are claiming it belongs to them. They've already started challenging the inheritance." My heart raced. Other people. What was she talking about? Catherine never mentioned anything like this. "Who are they?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "They're people from Catherine's past," Janet said. "From before she met you. The estate is under legal scrutiny now. Some folks believe Catherine didn't have the right to leave you that land." I leaned forward, my pulse pounding. "What do you mean she didn't have the right?" Janet lowered her voice even more. "There's a man. His name is Harold Clark. He's been trying to get this land for years. And now that Catherine is gone, he's coming after it." I froze. I had never heard that name before. Who was he? And why didn't Catherine ever mention him? "We don't know much about him yet," Janet admitted. "But he's connected to some shady people. If he gets control of the property, he could make life very hard for you." A chill ran through me. This wasn't just about money anymore. Someone was trying to take something that didn't belong to them, something that was mine. "Why didn't you tell me any of this sooner?" I asked, my voice shaking with a mix of fear and anger. "We needed to sort the documents first," Janet said carefully. "But I won't lie to you, Mrs. Hayes. This won't be an easy fight." I stood up suddenly, adrenaline surging through me. What do I do now? We'll get you legal protection, but you need to be ready for a fight, she warned. And it won't be pretty. I nodded, my hands still trembling, but something inside me was solid. No one was going to take this from me. I had fought my whole life to get to this point. I wasn't about to let some stranger steal my future. As I walked out of that office, I knew things were going to get messy. But I wasn't scared anymore. I had nothing left to lose. The next few days passed in a blur. I was drowning in legal terms I didn't understand and papers I didn't know how to read. But through all the confusion, one thing kept repeating in my head. Harold Clark, a man I'd never even heard of before, was now trying to take what Catherine had left me. This inheritance was supposed to be mine, but every step toward claiming it felt like walking into a wall. I knew I couldn't just sit around and hope it all worked out. So, I started digging. I reached out to anyone who might have known Catherine, or had heard of Harold Clark. I needed to know who I was up against, and what I was really walking into. By the third day, I was exhausted and overwhelmed. I needed to clear my head. Since I hadn't explored much of this small coastal town since moving in, I decided to take a walk along the beach. The ocean air always helped me think. So, I grabbed my jacket and headed out. The wind was cool and salty as it brushed against my face. A few people passed by, smiling politely. This town was quiet, the kind of place where people didn't ask too many questions. I liked that. I could just blend in. That's when I saw him, an older man sitting on a bench near the pier, tossing breadcrumbs to a bunch of noisy seagulls. His face was weathered, like someone who had seen a lot in his life. Something about him felt familiar, though I couldn't explain why. My gut told me to stop. I hesitated, then walked over. "Excuse me," I said gently. "I hope I'm not bothering you, but you seem like someone who knows this town well." He looked up at me, squinting in the sunlight. His eyes studied me for a moment, not in a suspicious way, more like he was trying to figure out if he knew me. "I've lived here my whole life," he said with a gravelly, friendly voice. "Name's Frank. What's on your mind?" I sat down beside him, watching the seagulls fight over crumbs. Something about the calmness of that moment helped me breathe. "I just moved nearby," I said, trying to sound casual. "Still getting to know the place. I was wondering if you've ever heard of a man named Harold Clark." As soon as I said the name, something changed in Frank's face. His eyes narrowed, and he shifted uncomfortably on the bench. For a second, I thought he might stand up and leave, but instead, he leaned in closer. "You're asking about him?" he muttered. I nodded. "Yes, his name came up recently. It's tied to something important. I'm just trying to understand who he is, and why he suddenly wants what was left to me." Frank didn't answer right away. He stared out at the water, like he was remembering something he'd tried to forget. Then slowly, he turned to me and lowered his voice. "You're connected to Catherine Hayes, aren't you?" His words sent a chill through me. How did he know that? My heart thudded in my chest as I nodded. "Yes, she left me something after she passed. But now this Harold Clark is trying to claim it." Frank's face grew serious. His hands clenched the bag of breadcrumbs tightly. "Harold Clark is bad news," he said. "He's been after that land for years. The man doesn't give up. And once he knows you're involved, he'll come for you too. He won't care who gets hurt." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean? Who is he?" Frank took a deep breath, like he'd been holding something in for a long time. "He's not just a businessman. He used to work with Catherine. A long time ago they were involved in things no one talks about anymore. Shady things. If Harold's interested in that property, it's because it's worth more than you think." I leaned in, my voice barely a whisper. "What do you mean? What's so special about the land?" Frank glanced around nervously, then scooted closer to me. "That land, it's sitting on top of something hidden, something big, a secret Catherine kept to herself. No one knew, not even her close friends, but Harold. He's been hunting for it for years, and now, he thinks it's finally within reach." I sat back, stunned. My head was spinning. Hidden land, a secret Catherine never told anyone about. "And how do you know all of this?" I asked. Trying to steady my voice, I kept my voice low as I asked him, "How do you know all this?" Frank gave a tired smile. "I've been around a long time, Laura. I've seen things, heard things. Some people move on from the past. Some of us can't." I stood up, my legs unsteady. "Thank you, Frank. I don't know what to say." He nodded, his expression softening. Just be careful, and if you want to keep that property, you'll have to be ready. Harold Clark doesn't play fair. Don't let him take it from you. As I walked away, Frank's words echoed in my mind. This wasn't just about some forgotten piece of land. Harold Clark was dangerous, and I was going to have to fight for what was mine. The next few days flew by in a blur. I couldn't shake the heavy feeling in my chest. Harold wasn't just after money. He was after something Catherine had gone to great lengths to hide, even from me. I spent hours poring over everything I had, files, documents, anything from Catherine's estate that could help me understand. Frank's warning kept coming back. Harold won't stop. That thought chilled me to the bone, but I refused to give up now. Not after everything that evening. Just as I sat down to make more calls to my lawyer, my phone buzzed. It was a number I didn't recognize. My heart skipped. I stared at the screen, hesitating. I hadn't heard from him in weeks. Our last conversation had left me raw, angry, exhausted. Still, I picked up, "Hello, Mom." James's voice was softer than I expected. "I've been thinking about what happened, and I'm sorry. I should have been there for you. I wasn't thinking. Can we talk?" I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. His words caught me off guard. I wanted to believe him, to believe he finally saw the damage he'd done. But something about his tone felt off, too smooth, too practiced. "I'm not sure there's anything left to say, James," I replied, my voice steady but guarded. "You've made your choices. I've seen who you really are. I can't keep going back to that." "Please, Mom," he said quickly. "I know I've messed up, but I'm trying to fix things. I really am. I need your help." His words hit me, but not in the way he probably meant. It wasn't love or regret I felt. It was clarity. I suddenly understood. He wasn't calling to make things right. He was calling because he wanted something. "I can't help you, James," I said, my voice firm now. "Not anymore. I've done all I can. You've had all the help you're going to get from me." There was a pause. For a moment, I thought maybe he'd accept it, but then his tone changed. "You're really going to leave me like this?" His voice was sharper now, full of frustration. "You've always been the one I could count on. I don't know what you think you're doing, but I'm your son. You can't just walk away." The words stung, but I didn't flinch. I had heard enough. I wasn't going to let him guilt me again. "I'm not walking away, James," I said. "I'm just finally choosing me. I've spent my whole life taking care of everyone else, especially you. I'm done. You'll have to figure things out on your own." There was silence on the other end. I could hear him breathing, heavy and uneven. Finally, he spoke again, this time, his voice low, defeated. "You don't get it, do you? I'm not asking for money. I'm asking for family. And you're just gone." I took a deep breath, fists clenched. "You had family, James. You had me, but you turned your back on that. And now, it's my turn." I hung up the phone before he could respond. My chest was tight, my hands shook, but inside, I felt calm, solid. I knew I had done the right thing. For so long, I had tried to be the perfect mother, the fixer, the one who held everything together, but I wasn't that woman anymore. I had finally let go, and this time, I wasn't going back. I wasn't holding anyone up anymore, and honestly, that felt like a huge weight off my shoulders. After talking to James, the house felt so quiet it was almost scary. It was like the silence itself was pressing down on me. But even in that stillness, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: relief. I had finally broken free from a connection that had been dragging me down for years. It felt good, for a moment, but that peace didn't last long. Weird things kept happening: Harold Clark acting suspicious, Frank saying strange things, and then James calling and trying to play mind games with me. Something wasn't right. It all felt connected, but I couldn't figure out how. It was like I had all the puzzle pieces, but they didn't fit. I knew I couldn't just sit around and hope it would make sense later. Catherine's fortune, the land she left me, the secrets I needed answers. That night I sat at the kitchen table and started looking through Catherine's documents again. I had already checked them once, but now I had a goal to really understand. I opened the folder with the legal papers and the note she'd written me. Her words still stayed with me. "Your worth isn't just in what you do for others. It's in who you are." I was deep in thought when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. The sound made me jump. My heart started beating faster as I walked to the door. I hesitated, hand on the knob. When I opened it, A man was standing there holding a small box. He looked normal enough tall, wearing a nice suit that felt too fancy for our quiet little town. But something about him felt off. He wasn't smiling with his eyes. "Good evening, Mrs. Hayes," he said in a calm, polite voice. "I'm William Hart. I work with the law firm handling Catherine Hayes's estate. I believe you've been expecting some documents." I blinked, confused. I've been working with Janet. I didn't think anything was coming today." "I understand," he said smoothly. "This is a special delivery. A few extra papers that need your urgent attention." He handed me the box. "Please look through these soon. If you need help, don't hesitate to reach out." Before I could even ask anything, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the evening light. I just stood there for a second, staring at the box in my hands. Something about the whole thing didn't sit right with me. It felt strange, sudden, too perfect. I closed the door and sat back down, gently opening the box. Inside were papers folded neatly, along with a letter. I opened the letter first. It said there was a final clause in Catherine's will that had just come up, and I needed to sign something to complete the process. It mentioned a piece of property she had set aside for me and said I should act quickly to keep everything on track. My stomach turned as I read it. A final clause. A piece of property. I thought everything was already settled. And why wasn't Janet the one handling this? I pulled out the rest of the papers, maps, land deeds, legal stuff that looked rushed and messy. There were words I didn't fully understand, like something about an easement, and names and locations that didn't match anything Catherine had ever told me. Then I saw Harold Clark's name again, buried in the fine print. Not just mentioned, but involved, deeply involved. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just a paperwork issue. It felt like a trap. Some shady legal game I had been pulled into. Part of me wanted to just throw it all away, pretend none of it was happening, but I couldn't. I knew too much now. I had to dig deeper. Something was going on, and I needed to find out what it was before it was too late. I slammed the papers down on the table, my hands shaking. I felt sick. Janet, William, Harold Clark, they were all part of something I hadn't seen coming. This wasn't just about a piece of land or a will. It was something bigger. Something Catherine had kept hidden, and now I was stuck in the middle of it. I had to find out who Harold Clark really was. What did he want? Why was he so obsessed with what Catherine left behind? This wasn't just about money anymore. This felt dangerous, and I wasn't going to sit back and let him take anything from me. Not now, not ever. The next few days were a blur. Every time I thought I understood what was going on, something new popped up. Harold Clark's name kept showing up on documents, in old letters, always in the background like some shadow that wouldn't go away. The more I dug, the less I knew. Who was this man? And why was he trying so hard to take what Catherine had left for me? I had a meeting set up with Janet, hoping for answers. But the moment I walked into the law office, I knew something was off. Janet wasn't there. Instead, a man I'd never seen before greeted me. He looked polished, maybe in his 40s, and his suit was perfect. But the way he looked at me made me uneasy. "Miss Hayes," he said with a smooth voice that felt too friendly. "I'm Alex Thompson. I'll be helping you today. Please, have a seat." I sat down slowly, my guard up. "Where's Janet?" I asked, trying to sound casual. He gave me a polite smile, but it didn't feel real. "Oh, she's busy with another case. Nothing to worry about. Let's get right to it, shall we?" I nodded, but every part of me was tense. Something wasn't right. Alex slid some papers toward me. "I've been looking into Catherine's estate. There's some confusion about the land, and unfortunately, Harold Clark is involved." I clenched my hands in my lap, forcing my face to stay calm. "I've heard his name. What does he want with the property?" Alex hesitated. His eyes dropped to the papers, then met mine again. "That's not totally clear. What we do know is that Harold had a connection to Catherine, personal and professional. It's complicated." I leaned forward. My voice was steady, but I could feel my frustration building. "I want to know everything. What was Catherine involved in with him?" For a second, Alex's expression darkened, but then he quickly covered it up with a professional smile. "I can't tell you everything," he said carefully, "but I can say this. Harold Clark made Catherine's life difficult for years, and now that she's gone, he's making his move to claim what he thinks is his." I narrowed my eyes. "Are you helping him?" The question hung in the air. Alex didn't blink. He just leaned back, laced his fingers together, and said, "No, Miss Hayes. I'm here for you, but you need to understand this is more than just a legal matter. Catherine's will wasn't just about giving you some things, it was her way of protecting something important. And Harold will do anything to get it. My heart was pounding. This was way beyond anything I'd expected. It wasn't just land or money, it was something else. Something powerful. Something Catherine had kept hidden from the world and Harold wanted badly. What is it? I asked. Why is he after it? What did Catherine leave behind? Alex looked at me for a long moment. Then he sighed. All right, he said quietly. You deserve to know. Catherine didn't just leave you an inheritance. She left you a key. I blinked. A key. Yes, he said. A key to something much bigger. There's a hidden vault, locked away and protected, filled with documents and assets that go far beyond what you've seen so far, and Harold knows about it. A chill ran through me. He's been trying to find it for years, Alex continued. But Catherine made sure that only you could open it. The location? Only you have access to it. I leaned back in my chair, stunned. This wasn't just about a house or a piece of land. This was something else entirely. Something that could change everything. But why me? I whispered, more to myself than to him. I don't even think she fully understood it herself, I said quietly, my hands trembling. What kind of deal was it? And why didn't she ever tell me? Frank's expression softened. There was sadness in his eyes mixed with worry. She was trying to protect you, Laura, he said gently. Catherine knew that if you ever found out the full story, you'd be in danger. The land, the Volteets, all part of something much bigger. There's a whole network behind it, and Harold Clark. He's just one of the people after it. There are others, worse ones. A chill ran down my spine. So this isn't just about money. Frank nodded. Exactly. It's a lot bigger than that. And now, like it or not, you're in the middle of it. My heart pounded. Everything was moving too fast. I'm telling you this, Frank went on, because you need to be ready. If you really want to protect what Catherine left you, it's not just about keeping the property. You'll have to fight for it. And I'm afraid you won't be able to do it alone. I swallowed hard. I was scared, but I also knew I couldn't walk away from this. What should I do? I asked, trying to steady my voice. Frank leaned back, his eyes serious but calm. First, you need to find the documents Catherine left behind. They'll help you understand what's going on. And there's a vault. There's a key to it, but it's hidden. You have to find that key. A vault. A key. My heart raced just hearing the words. The pieces were finally starting to come together, but it was still overwhelming. And now, like it or not, I had to trust Frank. He was the only one who seemed to know what was really going on. I stood up, the weight of it all settling in my chest. Thank you, Frank, I said. I don't know what this all means yet, but I'll do whatever it takes to protect what Catherine left me. You'll need to be strong, Laura, he said as he got up to, and remember, you're not just fighting for land or money, you're fighting for your life. As I stepped out of the cafe, I couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to get a whole lot more dangerous. This wasn't the end, it was just the beginning. It had been a few days since I spoke to Frank, and my world was spinning. Everything was happening so fast. The truth about Catherine's estate, the secret vault, Harold Clark, and all these powerful people I didn't even know existed. It felt like I was finally putting the puzzle together. But every new piece only made things scarier. I hadn't told anyone about the vault, not even the lawyer, not yet. Frank had warned me not to trust anyone, not fully. He said everyone had their own reasons for helping, and I couldn't afford to let my guard down. Now I sat alone in my new living room, surrounded by papers and documents. I stared at the one that had started at Catherine's letter. I ran my fingers over her words, remembering how they made me feel the first time I read them. This is your time, Laura. Live for yourself now. Catherine had known what was coming. Even if I hadn't seen it, she had. And now, it was up to me to finish what she started. I picked up the phone and dialed the number Frank had given me. I was about to take another step into the unknown, but I didn't have a choice. I had to do this. The other option, letting Harold Clark and whoever else was involved take everything. Hello, a voice said on the other end. This is Laura Hayes, I replied, trying to sound calm. I was told I could reach someone here about the vault. There was a pause, then a deep sigh. You're sure you want to go down this path? The voice asked. It's not something to take lightly. I don't have a choice, I said firmly. I need to know where the vault is and how to get to it. Another pause. All right, the voice said. Then listen closely. But first, understand this. What you're protecting isn't just money. If you find what you're looking for, you'll be in even more danger than you are now. I clenched my fists. My fear turned to fire. I'm ready. The person on the phone let out a quiet, nervous laugh. I hope you're ready, they said, because once you take the first step, there's no turning back. I held my breath. The key you're looking for, it's not easy to find. The voice continued. Catherine hid it in a place she didn't want anyone to discover, not even you. At first, my stomach tightened. Where is it? I asked. It's somewhere no one would ever think to check, the voice replied, speaking in a mysterious tone. It's hiding in plain sight, right in front of you, but most people wouldn't see it. There was a long pause before they added, You've already been there, Laura. It's in your house. I froze. My house? What do you mean? You need to start looking more carefully, they said. It's always been there, you just didn't notice it. Think of a spot people usually ignore. Somewhere you'd never expect to find something important. The key is connected to something Catherine cared about deeply. It's personal. I stood up, my mind racing. My house. The place I had come to see as a fresh start. Could there really be something hidden here? Something I'd missed all this time. I'm not going to tell you exactly where it is, the voice said. You have to find it yourself. But once you do, it will lead you to the vault. And when you open it, you'll finally get the answers you've been searching for. A wave of nerves rushed through me. My chest felt tight. This was real. I was closer than ever to uncovering the truth, but I could feel it. Danger was just around the corner. I couldn't run now. Thank you, I whispered. I'll find it. I hung up the phone and stood in the middle of the room. My heart pounding. The walls around me suddenly felt like they were closing in. I was stepping into something bigger than I had ever imagined, but it was too late to back out. I had to find the key. The days that followed felt like a blur. I couldn't stop thinking about the vault. I had already searched every inch of the house before, but now I had to look again with new eyes. What had I missed? Where could it be hiding? I started in the living room. I lifted carpets, moved furniture, even checked inside the light fixtures. I was willing to look anywhere, but I found nothing. No secret hiding spots. No hidden compartments. Just the same furniture and walls I'd seen every day. Frustration bubbled up, but I pushed it down. I couldn't give up. Catherine had left something behind, something that could change everything. The next day, I went back with more determination. I kept hearing the voice's words in my head. It's always been there. Look in a place no one thinks to check. I stood in the hallway, staring at the walls, thinking about when I first moved in. I had been in such a rush to start over that I never really noticed the little things. Maybe that was my mistake. Maybe I had been searching for something too big, too obvious. Maybe I needed to look smaller. Then it hit me, something personal, hidden in plain sight. I walked toward the bookshelf in the living room. It was full of old books, family memories, and random little decorations. Catherine had loved to read, and we used to sit together and talk about her favorite stories. One book caught my eye, The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett, that had been one of her favorites. I smiled, remembering how often she spoke about it. I pulled the book off the shelf. At first, I didn't think much of it, but then something dropped out from between the pages, a small metal object. My heart skipped a beat. I bent down and picked it up. It was a tiny, beautifully designed key, attached to a worn piece of paper. On it, in Catherine's handwriting, were the words, "The garden is your key." I felt my stomach turn. Of course, the garden. Catherine had always loved her garden. I passed it every day, just behind the house, tucked away in a quiet corner, but I never saw it as anything more than a peaceful little spot. I had missed the most obvious clue. Without thinking twice, I grabbed the key and ran outside, my heart racing. The answers were out there, right in the garden I had walked by every day, and now I was finally ready to uncover the truth. I had always thought the garden was just a pretty, peaceful place, but now I knew this garden held answers. I walked quickly across the grass, heading straight to a small shed tucked away in the back. It was covered in thick ivy, and it looked like no one had been inside for years. I had passed by it so many times and never gave it a second thought. But this time, I felt something different. As I got closer, my heart started beating faster. I reached for the old, rusty doorknob and gave it a turn. The hinges let out a long, eerie creak that made the hairs on my arms stand up. Inside, the shed was dark and musty. Old gardening tools were scattered around, forgotten and covered in dust. But in the far corner, I spotted something odd, a small trapdoor, almost completely buried under piles of leaves and dirt. It looked like someone had tried hard to hide it. I dropped to my knees and brushed everything aside. My fingers shook as I pulled out the key I had found in the book. I held my breath as I slid it into the lock and it fit perfectly. With a loud click, the trapdoor popped open. Beneath it was a narrow wooden staircase disappearing into the darkness. I stood there for a moment, frozen. My heart pounded in my chest. This was it, the moment I had been waiting for. The truth was down there, but so was the danger. I took a deep breath and stepped onto the first stair. The wood creaked under my feet, and the air grew colder with every step. My flashlight flickered as I made my way down, casting creepy shadows on the walls. Each step felt heavier, but I couldn't stop now. I had come too far. At the bottom, I found a small room that smelled old and damp. Dust covered everything, shelves lined the walls, and in the center of the room was a worn-out wooden chest. I walked over slowly, my fingers trembling as I reached for the lock. The key turned easily. The chest creaked open. Inside was a pile of old papers, faded photographs, and thick folders stuffed with documents. My stomach dropped. This was what Catherine had been hiding all along. I started flipping through the papers, my heart pounding harder with every page. Some were contracts and legal documents, others were hard to understand. But then, I saw a name I knew, Harold Clark. Suddenly, everything clicked. The papers told the story. Harold Clark had been involved in shady, illegal deals with Catherine, offshore bank accounts, strange business transactions, connections to people with serious money and power. It was all right here, hidden in this chest. Catherine had been trying to protect me. She knew that if this information ever got out, could ruin everything. That's why she hid it. That's why she left it for me, someone she trusted. Now the truth was in my hands, but with it came real danger. Harold Clark wouldn't just sit back if he found out I had this. He'd do whatever it took to keep his secrets buried. I sat down on the dusty floor, staring at the open chest. Papers and photos were spread out everywhere, like pieces of a puzzle I wasn't sure I wanted to solve. Catherine had kept all of this a secret even from me. She had been caught up in something huge, and now I was in it too. I kept reading, more names, more companies. Some didn't even seem real anymore. But the numbers and records were huge amounts of money, deals with people I didn't know, but who clearly had power and reach. Catherine had known all of it. She had been part of something much bigger than I ever imagined. And now, it was my job to protect it. I didn't want to be dragged into a world full of lies and danger. I didn't want to lose everything she had left behind, but I couldn't just ignore it either. This was Catherine's legacy, and now, it was mine. I looked at the chest one last time. Then I carefully placed everything back inside, closed the lid, and locked it tight. I didn't have all the answers yet, but I knew one thing for sure. The truth was no longer hidden, and it was up to me to decide what to do with it. I kept the key close. No one else would ever know where it was, not even Harold, especially not him. It was mine now, and I had to protect it. As I stood in that quiet, hidden room beneath the house by the ocean, my thoughts ran wild. I realized I was standing at a turning point. For years, I had lived with so many regrets, choices I couldn't undo, people I had lost. But now, something felt different. This truth, everything I had uncovered, belonged to me. And for the first time, I was the one in control. I left the shed and locked the trapdoor behind me. The cool night air brushed against my face, and it felt calming, like a fresh start. For the first time in a long time, I felt peaceful. I walked slowly back to the house, letting everything sink in. That night, I made a choice. I wasn't going to keep running. I wasn't going to keep hiding. Catherine's legacy wasn't just about the money or the land, it was about freedom. It was about standing tall and saying, "This is mine. No one is taking it from me." From that moment on, I decided to take control of what I could. I would use the money wisely, but I wouldn't let it control who I was, and the secrets in that vault. I'd keep them safe. I'd only use them if I absolutely had to. The next morning, I drove into town to find a lawyer, but not just any lawyer. I needed someone I could trust, someone who wouldn't try to use me or twist the truth. I had been fooled before, and I wasn't going to let that happen again. As I sat in that office, signing papers to officially claim the estate, another realization hit me. I didn't need anyone's approval anymore. I had spent so much of my life trying to be perfect, the perfect mother, the one everyone could rely on, but not anymore. Now, I was living for me, and that felt amazing. I stood up, stronger than I had ever felt, ready for whatever came next. My life was mine now. I had the strength, I had the courage, and I knew enough to protect what Catherine had left me. No one could take that away. When I walked out of the office, the sunlight hit my face, and I took a deep breath. The air felt lighter, like a heavy burden had finally lifted. For the first time in years, the future didn't scare me, it excited me. I didn't know exactly what came next, but I did know this: I was ready. Ready to live life on my terms. No more fear. No more pretending. No more looking back. And right then, I smiled. A real, full smile, because I finally knew I was exactly where I was meant to be.